to the Thought SNOB Podcast. I'm Paula Swope. Let's get snobby. Thank you for tuning in today to the Thought SNOB Podcast. I'm Paula Swope, your host, and my husband Will is back here. And if you've been watching us for any amount of time, you know that we are experimenting with a new format. We've switched from longer episodes with guests to shorter commentary episodes. But I don't know what my topic or my question is going to be until the last minute. Will gives me a question or a topic, and then I have to talk about it off the top of my head without any preparation whatsoever. So, before he gives me my question or my topic, I just want to thank you for watching, or if you're listening, thank you. And if you are enjoying the Thought SNOB Podcast and you haven't already subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you would do that now and give us a like too and a comment. If you like the new format, let us know. All right, Will, I'm ready for you. What's it going to be?
This week, I wanted to get your thoughts on a TV series we just finished and that we absolutely loved. The Righteous Gemstones.
Well, that show was absolute genius, and one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life. And a lot of people you either love or you hate me for my views about organized religion. And I talk a lot about organized religion in my book, Thought SNOB. And it's not to be respectful. My views are based on years and years and years of observations, not judgments. And I absolutely am 1,000% against anything that puts God and Jesus Christ or the divine, however you choose to refer to the higher power, that puts that in a box. Totally against organized religion for so many reasons, and a lot of those reasons were blatantly exploited in the Righteous Gemstones. And so that's one piece of it that I'll talk about, but then there's also a second piece. And that's what people believe about manifestation. And but I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute. So with the Righteous Gemstones, you've got John Goodman, who plays Eli Gemstone, and he's the leader of the clan. He's got 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl, and their mother passed away when they were pretty young. And in the show, you get a real live look into what that really does to people and to a family. So there are a lot of learning lessons in this show. I highly recommend that you watch it. It's not for the faint of heart. Like, if you offend easily, you don't watch it. I mean, if you believe in the Bible, you're going to think it's like the biggest display of blasphemy like you've ever seen in your life. But I hate to break it to you, that's what organized religion is. Organized religion takes you away from God, and spirituality gets you closer to it. And that's why I took that path in my late 20s, because organized religion had really messed me up and caused me to live in fear. I mean, a lot of people go to church because they are fearful that they're going to go to hell when they die. Those are not for the right reasons. A lot of people go to church to put up a front, to look a certain way. A lot of people go to church because they want other people to think that they're saints. A lot of people go to church to I don't know. They feel like if they go to church, then that cancels out all the bad shit they do. And that's not the case. That's not the case at all. And every single denomination judges and criticizes the other. The Catholics judge the Pentecostal judge the Baptists judge the Jehovah's Witness, and it just keeps going on and on and on. They do not associate with each other. It's as bad as politics. Right now, a lot of people aren't associating with each other based on their party affiliation. But that's what it's always been like in organized religion. Bring up a Catholic to a holiness person and look at what type of reaction that you get. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Every single thing that God and Jesus Christ stand for, every single thing that the higher power represents, is the opposite of what is taught in church. Now, I want to say that if someone is watching or listening right now and you go to church and you go for the right reasons and you get something out of it, it enriches your life in some way, it makes you a better person in some way, it gives you the resources or the skills or the motivation to help other people, then I have the utmost respect for you. You need to keep going. Anything that does that for you, you need to get more of it. You need to go, whether that's church or whatever it may be. I'm not condemning anybody here. I'm not disrespecting anybody here. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to church. I'm telling you what my beliefs are. And I stand very firm in my beliefs because I have given churches and people who go to church a fair run. I've asked them questions. I had motives they didn't know I had for asking the questions. I've compared answers, and I've gotten to the bottom of it. And I watched the Righteous freaking Gemstones, and it all just came flooding in. Like I've been talking about zodiac signs a lot on social media, particularly Capricorns, because I'm a Capricorn, December 25th, 1976. And if you're a Capricorn or you know a Capricorn, you know that we keep this mental record of everything that everybody does. We don't have to even write it down. It is a file. If you know us, you have a file, and it is stored right up here. If you're listening right now, not watching, I am pointing to my brain, okay? And my mental file is it's thick. It's thick when it comes to organized religion and people who are on that amen row every time the doors are open. Now, I've noticed some things about these people, and they're self-righteous too, man. Like, they are self-righteous, and they are quick to judge. They're quick to criticize, and they have problems with people. A lot of people I know bebop around churches because they fall out with the congregation. They fall out with the people at the church, and so they move on to another church. Next thing you know, they're at another church. Next thing you know, they're at another church. And when you hear them talk about it, it's the church's fault. It's the people's fault. I don't ever hear them taking any responsibility, saying, oh, well, I did this and I did that. Okay, whatever. But if you're going to church for the right reasons, that shit is not going to be present. It is not going to happen. Those issues are not going to be there. And another thing too, a lot of people I know, and I'm not making a sweeping assumption here. I'm talking about the observations that I have made. I'm talking about the people that I know that are diehard churchgoers. They have problems. They have problems that I don't have. And if they are so close to God, they should not have those problems. And Something's going on. They're either their preacher's not getting through to them, or maybe the preacher is not legit, but something's going on. Because if you go to church every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night, then what the hell? If you exercise 3 days a week, then you are going to reap some benefits from that. So things are going to change with your overall health and well-being, whether that's building muscle or losing a little bit of weight or tone it up or more mental clarity or something. You are going to get something out of it. And I know so many people who've gone to church their entire lives and they're still broke and they're still sad and they still have problems with people. They're still pissed off. They're not forgiving anybody. They don't understand the meaning of forgiveness. There's a disconnect with organized religion and God. And the Righteous Gemstones portrayed that as perfectly as anything that I have ever seen. So these people are, the Gemstones are running this megachurch, this huge following, like to the magnitude of like Joel Osteen, to the magnitude of Jim and Tammy Faye back in the day, regardless of, I don't know, however old you are, you might not remember Jim and Tammy Faye, but that's a hell of a story. You need to look it up. Now, although the Gemstones, a lot of people benefited from going to their church. They had a huge following, and they did preach God's word. They absolutely did. They preached, from what I could gather, straight from the Bible. That's what churchgoers believe in. But their private life did not match up to their public personas at all. I mean, these people cheated on their spouses. They did drugs. Used profanity. They fought. They hated each other. They did not practice forgiveness. They lied on people. They cheated. They were thieves. They were part of murders. These people were not at all behaving in the likeness of God. But, and here's where I'm getting to the second part. A lot of people think that in order to manifest wealth, mansions, fancy cars, high-end clothes, in order to manifest wealth, that you have to be a good person. No, you don't. No, you don't. Those people had accumulated too many assets. I mean, their level of extravagance was like vulgar at times. They had too much shit. They had too much money. Like, they had so much money, they didn't even know what to do with it. It would look like at times. And they often took it for granted. It was obvious they weren't grateful for anything. A lot of bad things happened to these people. A lot of bad things. Because they were not good people. And so you attract what you are. But if your mind is focused on wealth, and no matter what kind of person you are, no matter how bad you are, if you're focused on wealth and you're focused on accumulating riches and assets, and you can feel like you already have those things when you don't, well, that's the key to manifesting money. You don't have to be a good person. And I had that all screwed up in the beginning too, but that is not how this works. And that was displayed, again, perfectly with the Righteous Gemstones. But just because someone is wealthy doesn't mean that their life is good. It doesn't mean they're happy. It doesn't mean they don't have a shit ton of problems. Okay? Two totally different things. And a lot of people confuse that. And you can watch that show and you can see, money cannot make you happy if you are fucked up. It is never going to do that. Money might make your life easier, but just because you can get out of a sticky situation doesn't mean that you're happy or you're ever going to be happy just because you got a bunch of money. And that is the big thing, my big takeaway from the Righteous Gemstones, because, my mother is someone who thinks that if you have all kinds of money, then your life is perfect and you're just happy, 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 happy. And that is crazy. That's not how it goes. If you are not happy, if you are not good, if you are not grateful, then that money is not going to fix those things. And with the Righteous Gemstones, it seemed like the more money they got, the unhappier they became. The more they fought, the more jealousy was just running through their veins. They were so jealous of each other and what this one had and that one had, and the control. They wanted all this control and they wanted all this attention from their father. I mean, the whole family was rooted in ego, which is the opposite of God. Ego, edging God out. All of them driven by ego. I didn't see a lot of love until towards like the very last episode of that show. But it was all ego, and ego is nothing but fear. And those people, the Righteous Gemstones, absolutely lived in fear. Well, then what is church for if you're still driven by ego and you're living in fear, not faith? What is the point? The only thing that ever killed my ego and helped me to not live in fear was getting in touch with God. And I did not do that in any kind of an institution. I did that through meditation, going to the silence, strengthening my communications with the divine, being a good person. Was a much better person once I got in touch with God and got to know God. And because I have had that experience and I know how I got in touch with God, I watched that show through a totally different lens. Because I thought, oh my, these people have been raised in the church, been in church their entire life, and they don't have a clue who God is. And I know it's just a show, but you can learn a lot of lessons through watching shows like that. And as I watched every episode, as funny and as absurd as it was, I kept that in the back of my head. I'm like, although they've listened to these sermons, they've read the Bible, they pray, they know a lot about religion, they know a lot about the history, Jesus Christ, but not once have they ever acted like God. And that is what you have to do. That's what you do when you really get to know God. And that is not something that can be taught in a church. Well, it can be, but it depends on the person. It depends on so many different things. But based on my experience, based on what spirituality has done for me, and based on what organized religion did for me, there's no comparison there. There's no comparison at all. And because I come from a family, raised in rural Kentucky where people take the Bible literally, like literally. And if you don't believe in the Bible or you don't believe in God and Jesus Christ the way that they do, then you're wrong. And you're practicing, you're being blasphemy. It's blasphemy, or you're delving into the devil's work, or it's pure, it's absolute pure ignorance. And if I would have been raised under the concepts that spirituality embraces, then I wouldn't have lived in fear the first 30 years of my life. And it's a waste of time. But you see a lot of fear in the Righteous Gemstones. And a lot of that comes from stereotypical things that are taught in church, but then a lot of that just oh my God, it came from just who they were as people. So I can talk about this topic literally forever, but I hope that what I've said resonates with those who may struggle with organized religion and feel guilty for stepping away from the church, maybe after years of getting nothing from it, or years of being hurt from it, controlled from it, being told who you are instead of being allowed to be who you really are. If you're someone like that, then that's who I'm talking to. And I'm not being disrespectful in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I am speaking my truth. And I hope if you're listening and you needed to hear this, or you're struggling with what to do, I hope that something that I've said has caused a light bulb to go off and maybe help you make a life-changing decision of some sort.
Great take on the Righteous Gemstones and organized religion. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, again for tuning in to the Thought SNOB Podcast with Paula Swope. Come back next Tuesday, anywhere you get your podcast, YouTube. We'll see you then. The Thought SNOB Podcast with Paula Swope has been brought to you by Thought SNOB Media in association with Special Purpose Studios. All production, mixing, and sound engineering by me, Will Swope. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars and leave a review. See you on the next Thought SNOB Podcast with Paula Swope.